I just want you all to know, I'm going to play this video for you. I want you all to see this, and I'll play for you what is happening in Mozambique. The reason why I'm going to play what's happening in Mozambique, because I also want you guys to give what is happening in the Sahel, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and all these countries where coup d'etats are taking a rise now. Because again, the people of Africa are beginning to lose confidence in their democratic leaders. This was something that occurred back in the 90s, when military leaders all over the place, and the people got fed up and said, we want democracy, right? And then these leaders have come through now through democratic means, but they don't want to leave power again. When they lose the elections, they physically and violently take these elections because they don't want to leave anymore. They forget that we had, military rule, and the people said, we're fed up, we're done. We don't want no more military rule. Therefore, we want democratic dispensation. But when the people have a democratic dispensation, what is happening is these leaders become autocrats, become totalitarians and dictators. So I'm going to play this video for you all. I want you guys to see this first. This was how some members of the international community described the elections in Sierra Leone. So I want you guys to see this, and then you can understand exactly where I'm going. So once I bring in the Mozambique video, you'd understand exactly what I'm talking about. But it's a shame. And it's disgusting, but let's listen to this. I want you guys to see this for yourself. All right, let's listen to this.
Greg, I'd like to begin, and welcome. Greg, I'd like to begin with a comment you made about Africa, where you said that the hope for democracy is receding there in proportion to the loss of influence of the Western powers. What's the situation there in Africa?
Well, it is not something which was unforeseen. We've been witnessing the decline in Western powers' influence in Africa for the past decade or more, and the rise of the People's Republic of China's influence there.
Right.
I wouldn't say that Beijing is at the top of its game in Africa, but it is offering more than the West can offer. But almost exactly 3 years ago, I wrote a report saying that the respect for the democratic processes in Africa was now at an end, and we were back to an era of coup d'etats as a form of governmental change, shall we say. So that situation has really come to pass. The last 3 years have seen a lot of African countries changing their government or retaining their government through the falsification of elections, the use of military and police force to intimidate voters and the like. We saw it in the Nigerian presidential elections on February 25th. And particularly, we've just seen it in the Sierra Leone presidential elections of June 24th.
Absolutely.
What we saw there was, if you like, President Julius Maada Bio, a former Army Brigadier General, who I know actually, and he went about going for re-election for a second term as president with all of the guns blazing, literally. There were 3 or 4 attempts to assassinate his principal opponent, Dr. Samora Kamara.
Dr. Samora Kamara.
So that was actually quite profound because the military and the police were used in those assassination attempts, the presidential guard and the like. And they were in uniform. They were being videotaped by bystanders. And the last attempt on Dr. Kamara's life was the day after the June 24th poll closed, when it looked as though, by some fluke, Dr. Kamara could be declared winner of the election. In fact, that day, Dr. Kamara and his deputy did come out with a press statement saying that they claimed victory in the election. So President Bio was desperate that this should not occur. He had paid the election commissioner handsomely and actually wanted him to step up the process of announcing the election results to June 25th, 26th, and even held a gun to the head of the election commissioner.
You didn't hear this part. I want you to listen to this part.
And even held a gun to the head of the election commissioner, which didn't prove to be necessary because the election commissioner did as he was paid to do anyway, which was to announce Bio as the winner.
All right. I'm going to come back to this. All right. I'm going to come back to this. And like I said again, I want to share with you guys exactly what happened in Mozambique so you guys can see the outcomes of the election and how democracy is dying, across Africa. I want you guys to see that. I want you guys to understand why we do what we do and calling the attention of the international partners, the States Department, the African Bureau, Bureau of Africa, all of you guys, European Union, of course, you guys have been very awesome and wonderful. But we just want you all to know that what is happening in Sierra Leone today is a fluke in Africa as a whole. I recently saw another news where Germany is pulling its embassy from Mali, because they said, oh, well, because there's no democracy over there, so we're going to remove our embassies from these countries, basically from the Sahel. But they're failing to act when these African leaders are not treating their people right. They see what happened in Sierra Leone, but they're all sitting back and watching and observing whilst the people are crying to say, hey, we had an elections. In Sierra Leone today, the results of the elections is not available. And these are the things that people are talking about. The American ambassador, Ambassador Brian Hunt, came out and said, there is no election result. So this is the problem that we have, and this is what we're dealing with. But the international partners, which of course we should not be calling them because, again, America just had an elections. The elections went well in America. Nobody had to intervene, right? Everybody, we saw the results in real time and everybody knew Trump won. Are we happy? So a lot of people are not happy that he won, but hey, he had the most votes because the people came out and voted for him. So these are the things we're saying. And we want you guys to pay attention to what is happening now. Mozambique recently had an elections and look at what happened over there. I want you guys to listen to this. Listen to this so you can see what I'm talking about.
Relief in sight for Mozambique as the protests over allegations of vote rigging look set to continue in this country located on the southeastern coast of Africa. The protests have escalated since election authorities said that the Frelimo party had won the 9th October vote, extending its 49-year-old rule. The results have been disputed, fueling clashes between the police and protesters, which have killed at least 30 people. Ragini Sudhir Chore has more.
Mozambique is burning. The country's politics has been upended and its citizens are in a state of turmoil. People are out on the roads protesting against President-elect Daniel Chapo. The Frelimo party has ruled Mozambique since its independence from Portugal.
Remember, the Frelimo party has ruled for more than 49 years. They lost the elections. They fraudulently announced themselves as the winner. Mozambique is burning down. This is what Africa has turned out to be. And yet they wonder why we have a rise of military coup d'etats across Africa. Because the people no longer have trust and confidence in democracy itself. And our international partners are engaged in corrupt practices with these governments that have been in power for so long because, again, all they do is exploit Africa, so they really don't care. So when the people stand up to defend themselves and defend their democracies because they believe in democracy, they believe in one man, one vote, and when I vote counts my vote, they start killing them. This is what is happening.
Portugal in 1975. The party is now being
They've been in power since 1975.
Accused of registering 900,000 fake voters out of
They accused them of registering over 900,000 fake voters.
An electorate of 17 million. Frelimo's Daniel Chapo got 70.7% of the vote, ensuring that the party retained power. Mozambique's young population is turning against Frelimo. They are questioning the authenticity of the election result.
Again, the young people of Africa are rising up because they are fed up of the suffering. They're tired. They see themselves having to migrate, going through the Mediterranean Sea, going through the Sahara Desert, wherever it takes them to be able to go and seek greener pasture because their countries, their leaders have failed them. The institutions that should protect them have failed them. So the young people are aware. They are actively participating in democracies across Africa. And yes, so these, geriatric leaders don't want to leave power. They think it's going to be, same status quo, continue as it is. Corruption at the highest level, stealing all the resources of the country, only sharing all of that loot and the wealth to themselves. They don't share with the population. They just share with their family members and friends and party sympathizers based on tribal and regional and sectional, basis. This is what is happening, and the young people of Africa are waking up and saying,
My feeling is one of revolt. As a young Mozambican who's a part of a generation that is extremely marginalized by the system, today represents revolution to me. It represents a new beginning from the point of view of the youth.
Enough is enough. And so that is why they know that the elections was rigged in Mozambique. Same thing, they're standing up and questioning the fact that, hey, the results that you announced is not authentic, because we know the young people of this country, we form the broader part of the population. We did not vote for you. We're tired of you guys. We want you out. Incumbents across the world are seeing a rebellion among the people. If you have an elections right now in any country, the incumbents are going to lose those elections because the people are fed up, and they think that the incumbents, the ones that are in power right now, are the ones that are actually causing the problems, are the ones that are actually causing them to be poor, which is rightfully so, are the ones that are causing them to suffer high prices of goods and food and all of that stuff. So they're taking it out on incumbent governments. So incumbent governments are bound to lose the elections right now. And the ones that, of course, uncivilized as we are, a lot of African nations, they just cannot accept the fact that the people don't want us no more. And that is the problem that we have, and which is what you've seen in Mozambique. Look at this.
The young, unhappy Mozambicans are paying the price as the country faces some of the worst post-election violence. Protests broke out on 21st of October. They have worsened since then, turning into the biggest protest in an independent Mozambique. On 7th November, police fired tear gas at protesters. Anger has mounted since the election authorities said that Frelimo won the election, extending its 49 years in power. Human rights groups claim that at least 30 people have been killed in police crackdown. The election was hotly contested, with many young people supporting an independent candidate, Venancio Mondlane. But Mondlane only got 20.32% of votes. Mondlane, who is backed by the Podemos party, claimed that he won the vote. He alleged electoral fraud and manipulation in favor of the Frelimo party. United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has warned against the use of unnecessary or disproportionate force. He said that police should...
But this is what is happening. They are using, force now against the people. The young people of the country voted for the independent candidate. They know that they voted unanimously, a lot of the young people and a lot of the people in the country, because they're tired of 49 years in power. They voted against these guys, but these guys will not give up power. And this is the same thing that happened in Sierra Leone. It's what is happening, across, Africa at this point in time. So watch out for more elections to come. It is the same thing that's going to happen.
Protests now, in line with Mozambique's international human rights.
You'll see that at the end of the day, families are getting hurt now. Look at this. This is BBC I reported on this.
Family and friends of 16-year-old Antonio Joaquim have gathered to bid their final farewell.
16 years old was killed. But let's listen to his story. Out in the streets of Mozambique, power grabbing. Democracy is dying across Africa. Well, this was the outcome the APC executive wanted. So when Dr. Samora Kamara said, okay, let's come together as a party and make a decision, let's go through the peaceful route to resolve.
Yeah, Doc, what you go say to them people that will say the APC not for even negotiate with SLPP because the APC knows they win the election? Why the APC as a party, everybody, the executive, everybody agree for even negotiate?
Yes, that is an option. That is, whenever elections done, the results are disputed. There are various resolution mechanisms we will take. One, it will say they go to court. We did not go to court for obvious reasons.
Right.
The time was short, and two, results not been there.
Right.
So you go to court and go ask where your documentation.
Right.
We don't get documentation.
What do you tender?
Yeah, they don't just throw it. That's one. The other part will say, okay, they don't deny we will vote. What did happen? Low jump in the street.
Thank you.
You understand? No jump in the street. But the question there is, when they jump in the street against a wounded lion, that lion, they not let you so. We have seen tracks of what happened in previous protests. In a country where then they allow protests as part of democratic process, you can do it. When the policeman there, they protect you.
Right.
Where they protest peacefully with your banners.
Yes.
He can do it for you for as long as it takes until your views are heard.
Right.
And the position is taken.
Thank you.
But I can't see that's happening in Sierra Leone.
Solve this because again, probably Dr. Samora Kamara would have been in power right now if maybe 200-300 people would have died, because that is what they are saying they should have done. Should people have to lose their lives every time we have elections? Why is it that us as Africans are not going to wake up and say enough is enough of this foolishness? When are we going to be civilized? When are we going to conduct elections and let the people's voice speak for itself? When are we going to have elections and these elections results are counted free and devoid of corruption, of thievery, of barbarism, of violence? Yet we claim we are civilized. Look at what this family is going through. A 16-year-old. Listen to this story. Reported by BBC News.
They said he was taking part in a pots and pans protest in Mozambique's capital when police used live bullets to disperse crowds. Antonio is the latest casualty of weeks of protests that have gripped the country since the governing party, Frelimo, won the disputed presidential election in October. The party has been in power for 50 years.
His friends
50 years, man. The people said we're done, we're tired.
nicknamed him Jumbo, which means luck. And now his mother says he's a victim of a bullet, a victim of an electoral process he did not even take part in.
They are killing innocent people without any reason, but many female are crying now, like myself.
Venancio Mondlane, a part-time pastor and independent candidate, insists he's the rightful winner of the vote. In recent weeks, his supporters have taken to the streets demanding for his victory to be announced. The crisis deepened with assassinations of Venancio's lawyer and his colleague, a parliamentary candidate. Venancio alleges that at least 50 people have lost their lives, while civil rights groups have accused the police of using excessive force.
This is a show of frustration like nothing I've ever seen before. People are banging pots and pans, blowing whistles, vehicles passing by and hooting. And the message is simple. They are saying that the recent elections were not free and fair, and they want their candidate, Venancio Mondlane, to be declared as winner. They are also saying that if they can't join the streets to go and protest, they will do it from the comfort of their homes. And this is happening all across the country.
What does that tell you? When the whole country, the people are beating pots and pans, what does that tell you? They voted against you, but yet they're killing the people in the streets of Mozambique. In Sierra Leone today, Dr. Samora Kamara, the APC flag bearer, decided to go the peaceful route. Yet ECOWAS, they're sitting there. They gave Sierra Leoneans a date that September 15th to the 30th, a ECOMCIL will be deploying troops, peacekeeping troops to Sierra Leone to stabilize the country. Until this day, they haven't come back to tell us why. It's been almost 2 months now. We haven't seen a ECOMCIL or ECOWAS troops deployed to Sierra Leone. No explanation. They are taking the people of Sierra Leone for granted because there is seeming peace. And this was some of the issues we discussed with Dr. Samora Kamara when we had him on this platform. Because they're assuming because there is seeming peace, that is why they're sitting aloof and they're watching and waiting until disaster strikes. The people are demanding in Sierra Leone that we voted, give us our results. How can we go vote and there is no results to show for the elections? They are demanding, they are asking these tough questions, yet the international partners are sitting there and waiting until people start losing their lives senselessly before they'll jump in to say they want to take action. When is Africa going to be civilized? When are we going to be civilized as African people? And it's not just about wearing all the expensive clothes and shoes that these guys shop all day. When are we going to treat ourselves like human beings? We have elections for a reason. It's a simple process. If you've done what you said you were going to do, allow the people to make the decision. Allow the people to make the decision to choose you. If the people say we don't want you no more, go. Leave them alone. You can always come back. So across Africa, democracy is dying. And everybody else is sitting aloof. The United States, everybody, the States Department, you guys are sitting there, the European partners, you're sitting there. But I don't blame you. I know we Africans have to take the law into our own hands, and we have to do what's right by ourselves. We have to, you guys want us to keep fighting constantly, and whilst we're fighting, you're coming in and taking the mineral resources that we have. And yet you have leaders that are greedy and selfish, criminals, bunch of thieves and crooks and rogues, that all they think about is power, power, power. And the meaning of democracy itself, the true meaning of democracy, which is power of the people, for the people, and by the people, is not respected at all. It's just a facade to say we have a democracy, when the voices of the people and the will of the people are not respected. And what is the essence? And yet when we have all these coup d'etats across Africa, they will tell you that, oh, we don't recognize them. But the people prefer military coups today to Africa than the democratic governments, so-called democratic governments that they have. Because they cannot simply respect the constitutional rights of the citizens. The power is inherent in the people. Democracy is the power of the people, for the people, and by the people. In Sierra Leone, Section 5, subsection 2 makes it very clear. It says, through this constitution, sovereignty belongs to the people. The government derives its legitimacy, its authority, and its power from the people. What is so hard about this? Why do we have to have an election where the result is not announced? There is no result. And let me finish with this video that I started to play about Sierra Leone and how, Greg Copley, described what actually happened in Sierra Leone.
The unfortunate thing for President Bio was that the whole process was so scandalously rigged that none of the international observer missions, that included the Carter Institute from the United States, official election monitoring teams from the United Kingdom, Ireland, Italy, Germany, and France, plus the European Union's own monitoring team, all said that they would not certify the elections as free and fair or transparent. So President Bio looked as though he was going to be cut off from any Western recognition, but still persists with his claim of election victory. His neighbor, the president of Guinea, was getting set to come in and perhaps seize some Sierra Leonean territory, and he said he would go in and arrest Bio in the capital, Freetown.
Right.
That didn't happen, but President Bio did go to Conakry, the capital of Guinea, to negotiate with the interim president of Guinea, who is also a military president.
I just got home from work, and I thought that I had to do this when I saw this news on my way coming. I had to share with you all. Let's continue to protect democracy. It works. We just have to be civilized as Africans. And we're calling on the international community to come to Sierra Leone, restore democracy again, give the people their power back. That is all we're asking for. The people voted. There is no election result. Anthony Blinken, the State Department, every one of you guys, please. Sierra Leone is seemingly peaceful today because the people have a leader who is very peaceful, Dr. Samura Kamara. But don't take the people of Sierra Leone for granted. There is no election result. There's no way we're going to tolerate that. The ECSL should announce the result. If there is no result, we're asking for a rerun of that elections. We're not going to let time pass by and say, oh, it's been almost 2 years now, forget this thing. No. The people suffered to vote. Respect their ballot. Just like you respect the votes of the Europeans and the Americans. Respect the vote of the African people. Mozambique is on fire now. Don't wait until Sierra Leone gets on fire before you want to take action.